Good afternoon, everyone. We are here representing SX Network. I am here with Andrew, the founder of SX Network, co founder of SX Network, and he's taken time out of his day to explain the roadmap of the launch of the SX chain, as well as the exciting developments that have happened in our ecosystem in recent months and the exciting developments that are in the pipeline for the future. Explain some of the technicals. I introduce Andrew, co-founder of SX Network.
Thanks for the intro. We'll, I guess we'll post in the Discord right now and on Twitter just to give
Yep.
everyone in the community some time to hop on this call.
Yep.
Do you
I'm
want to
doing the
go
same.
ahead and do that?
We'll start in about 60 seconds. Absolutely amazing. We are shared across all platforms. Andrew, I just want to say on behalf of the SX community, we are very grateful that you've taken time out of your day. It's very, very busy times with the launch of SX Network in the pipeline. So many exciting developments these days. We have a brief presentation to share with you guys, and then we'll get into some Q&A with the SX Network community. We are streaming currently solely on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel with budding content in the pipeline, and we encourage everyone to hit the like button and ask us questions in the chat maybe afterwards. But we've taken most questions from our Discord, from the questions yesterday. We had a great batch of questions, and we appreciate the support and the response with the questions, the detailed questions, technical questions. And who better to answer these technical questions than the founder of SX Network? And without further ado, would you like to maybe speak, introduce yourself as well, and how are you feeling today as well, Andrew?
Yeah, thanks for the intro. Yeah, I mean, super glad to be here for our first community call. We thought we would change up the format a little bit of our monthly updates and try to do something a little bit more engaging and get everyone's questions asked to us, and we'll answer them versus kind of a more static format of just writing blog posts and stuff. This is our first time doing this, though, so bear in mind there may be some technical issues and just issues in terms of logistically getting everything set up. But I think we have pretty much figured out. I think we're ready to kind of just start and go from there. So like Mohammed said, I'll be giving a quick presentation to SX Network, and then we'll run through a bunch of community questions that were asked in the Discord. There was a lot of questions, so we'll try to do them rapid fire and try to keep this whole thing relatively concise if possible. So yeah, first I'll be talking about SX Network, which is the cross-chain network for sports betting, prediction markets, and DeFi. I'll go to the next slide. So first of all, what is the point of SX Network? So sports bettors want a product that is faster, better, and cheaper to use. So broadly speaking, faster means faster sign-up process, faster deposit and withdrawal options, faster payouts. Better, I mean, that's obvious, better betting options, better security, better promos, and then finally cheaper. So cheaper exchange fees, network fees, and then obviously cheaper deposit and withdrawal fees, which we all know is a huge issue with a lot of sportsbooks. And the sports betting platform that has the best odds, the best betting experience, and is the easiest and fastest to use, we think is the ideal platform that users will use. And so to us, the best sports betting application has the best liquidity, so odds of better than minus 105 or ideally minus 101, minus 101, the best betting UX and promos, and the best and fastest depositing and withdrawal process. In practice, sports betting sites typically specialize in one or two areas. No one application has tried to do everything or can really. And if you go on to the right, those are essentially examples of the different, I guess, sectors or I guess features that traditional centralized sports betting platforms sort of specialize in. Next slide. Ooh. Yeah. So just imagining the kind of ideal sports betting experience. In an ideal world, sports bettors would have access to shared accounts. So what that means is creating an account at one sports book would automatically allow you to access other sports betting platforms. So the way I kind of think about it is imagine if you had an account at Bet365, you automatically also had an account at Pinnacle and all of these other platforms. There would be less friction of moving from one sports betting platform to another. There'd be unlimited choice. So with shared accounts, which is what we kind of call this idea, there'd be no one single UX. Users could customize their UI specifically to their own specific desires and switch between competing alternatives frictionlessly. There would be frictionless deposits and withdrawals. So, I mean, everyone knows depositing withdrawals is very high friction in the traditional world. So, again, in the ideal world, that would be instant and free. Zero juice. So, sports books and market makers would compete against each other to offer an ultra low cost platform where the odds are always kind of -101, -101, or I guess for decimal odds people 1.99, 1.99. And then finally, aligned stakeholders. So ideally, everyone in this platform has kind of a stake in the success of the platform. And even if they have competing interests, they, on a short-term scale, they sort of all have a stake in the long-term success of this shared platform. And so to us, giving users unlimited choice, frictionless switching, smooth depositing and withdrawals, zero juice, and then finally ownership is sort of this ideal experience. Next slide. So introducing SX Network. So SX Network is an EVM-compatible smart contract blockchain designed for both sports betting and the prediction market use case. It uses a nominated proof-of-stake consensus mechanism with an on-chain governance system controlled by the SX token. It brings a number of core benefits, we think, to users, sports bettors, and users as well. So control over kind of distribution and partners. It's complementary. So sports betting apps sort of get to benefit from each other, we believe. It's cross-chain, so you can deposit and withdraw from any chain. So if you want to move your assets from something like Ethereum, you can, which is obviously a little bit more costly, but more popular. And you can also move your assets from something like Polygon or Binance Smart Chain or Solana, which are obviously much lower cost and faster. It's customized, so the blockchain is designed for the specific use case. And it serves as a catalyst for SX community growth. And we'll kind of analyze each of these factors a little bit. And we think SX Network sort of cements SX as the leading crypto sports betting and prediction market platform. And we actually think it's even a platform for even more growth than just sports betting and prediction markets. As we've kind of been developing it, we believe there's actually a big opportunity to establish SX Network as a generalized DeFi platform as well. But with that being said, obviously our main focus in the short term is kind of on the prediction market use case. We believe SX Network is the single most exciting project that we can work on right now at the SX team, and we're very excited to be working on it. And now I'll just kind of give a quick, that's sort of the end of my presentation on SX Network, and we're going to be releasing more and more info in terms of articles and white papers over the next couple of weeks as we get ready for the launch of SX Network in the fall. I'll just give a quick update on SX in July. Actually, do you want to go to the next slide?
Yes.
Oh, I guess I should say a little bit more. So SX Network is also a launchpad for much more. So obviously we have AthleteX, was just announced a couple of weeks ago, which is a tokenization protocol for athlete performance. And then BlitzPick, which is, I like to think of it as kind of the blockchain explorer of the sports betting world. Those are our first two launch partners. We have many more actually that are coming down the pipeline. And we think SX Network sort of serves as a launchpad for so much more, with obviously starting with the sports betting use case, but really there's been a lot of interest from DeFi projects as well. And we think with SX Network, we can kind of build a integrated ecosystem for sports bettors and DeFi users, kind of an end-to-end crypto experience. Next slide, sorry.
Gotcha. Amazing point on the project updates and some of the exciting projects that have decided to join SX Network and develop on SX Network. Very exciting development, gaining traction immediately, and it's very exciting.
Yeah. So I was one slide short. This is the activity update slide. So first of all, SX protocol volume, which obviously mostly generated through the SportX front end, came in around the $3 million mark in July. This is pretty much what we expected. July is the single worst, or I should say lowest activity month, just given the kind of the lack of sports and stuff. Typically comes in around 70 to 80% below sort of the average month. The SX Community Fund currently has 43.6 million USD in funds. With that being said, the vast majority of it is in SX, with 63 million SX in it, and then around $800,000 in kind of non-SX funds, which are generated from SX protocol revenue. We're working on a number of updates to both the front end and the protocol. In the short term, we're working on leaderboards. There's sort of a picture on the right showing it. That's obviously in testnet, so those values are not correct, but a number of built-in DeFi integrations to make SX farming easier on the SportX front end, and then a host of UI tweaks among many other small features. Moving forward after that, we're working on sort of gamifying the onboarding flow, working on betting bonuses, which is very tough to do sort of in this non-custodial crypto world, but we have some ideas on how we can accomplish that. And then finally, just adding tons of betting options, mostly focusing on first quarter, first half, second half, game props, those types of things. I also just want to highlight there's tons of SX farming opportunities right now. The DFIN SX DFIN farm is currently yielding over 450%. And then the SX ETH Dino Swap farm is 175%. Those values obviously change sort of minute by minute, but I just wanted to highlight those. And yeah, just keeping the momentum going into the back half of 2021. Do you want to go to the next slide? Awesome. So yeah, we got tons of questions through the Discord Q&A. There's actually 3 pages of just full-on questions. So we're going to try to rip through these, not take too long, just so that we can do all this and hit our kind of 30-minute window that we're looking to do. And yeah, again,
if you like, Andrew, you've dispensed amazing information about the development of the project, SX Network. It's a paradigm shift, not only in the sports world, but just for what we're able to do when it comes to decentralizing various aspects of the sporting world. And obviously, there are many synergies and extensions that connect beyond that. And our community has provided many detailed questions, technical questions. We've listed them here. If you like, I'll read them to you. I'll read one of the questions and maybe you can just dive into it, or do you have something prepared already for the first one? What are the biggest challenges you think SX faces in the next 5 years?
Yeah, for sure. The original question was actually SportX, but I kind of wanted to take the liberty of broadening it out a little bit to have SX. So, I mean, there's kind of 3, again, so SX Network, there's kind of 3 different parts to it. Just as like a quick refresher, there's the SX Network blockchain, which we're developing right now, and go into a whole host of reasons why we think that's going to add tons of value. And then there's the SX protocol, which is kind of the prediction market smart contract protocol, which is currently deployed on Polygon and obviously will be deployed on SX Network once it launches. And then there's the front ends built on top of the SX Network protocol, or sorry, I should say SX protocol. The biggest one obviously being SportX, but there's actually a host of others sort of coming down the pipeline in the next little bit. So the biggest challenges, I think, so I guess there's this question sort of, there's different for each of the 3 facets of the project, but I think I'll start with SportX. So obviously, the biggest challenges for SportX and any really front end developing on SX protocol is just user adoption. If you think of the overall sports betting market, um, there is there is essentially the non-online gambling market. Then there's the online gambling market, which is around 50% of the total. Actually, a little bit less, but growing kind of growing day by day. And then within that, there's the crypto betting subsection of that, which is a very small subsection of the overall pie. And then within that, there's blockchain-based crypto betting, which is a tiny piece of that. So in a lot of ways, I think SportX and a lot of these projects were very early, like overly early in a way, to this market, which I actually think is a big advantage because we kind of have an open playing field where we can build out a platform with very little competition and sort of build a dominant position within this industry and then just grow with the growth of the subsection. So I guess the biggest challenge in the short term is just adoption and trying to establish ourselves as the leading platform. Over the next 5 years, I think adoption will be the most important challenge we face. And I would say in the previous 5 years, it was product development, and next 5 years is adoption, and then probably as well, like any DeFi project or crypto project, there's obviously lots of regulatory things that we have to think about, which I think we do a pretty good job of staying proactive on. But yeah, I would say adoption in the next 5 years.
Absolutely amazing. You heard it. That's the roadmap over the next 5 years from the mind of the co-founder of SX Network, Andrew. The next question on the list that we have chosen is, what can community members do which would provide the most help to the project?
Yeah, this is a great question. I forgot. I think it was Dansky who asked this. I definitely appreciate the question. There's a lot of stuff to do. I think the most, like I said, our biggest challenge is adoption. So anything to spread awareness is amazing. Sort of build the SX army, as you would say. And I think there's a number of ways people can kind of get involved. There is sort of the just traditional awareness, like spreading awareness, word of mouth, all that stuff. But then there's also kind of the formal route that people can get involved in through SX governance. So the governance is essentially it's totally open for anyone to come in, propose changes, propose proposals, and they can actually get funding from the Treasury to actually execute on those proposals. So I think that's something that's sort of been underutilized, I would say, and I take some blame for that as well. But I think definitely one thing, like for example, I know someone was proposing this idea of creating sort of a protocol BD team that would be funded through the SX Treasury. So something where this particularly would be helping with SX Network, but essentially would be getting funding to go out and sort of get other projects on SX Network, which obviously takes more of the burden off sort of us. And I think that's a great idea. So something like that is a great idea. And I think there's a lot of, I guess, room for the community to help in both kind of an unpaid and paid way.
Great, great. So you've heard it straight from Andrew. There are a plethora of ways that the community can aid this project. The SX Network is a community. It's a community-owned, particularly with the first validated concept, SportX.bet, is a community-owned project governed by the community. So there are numerous ways where people can get involved. There's governance systems, proposal systems, just the Discord as well. I encourage everyone to join our Discord and be active in our Discord, where the development team and the founding team, dispense vital information, basically 24/7. There may be a problem at 3 in the morning, and the founding team and the developers are still accessible. These guys don't sleep. So it's very exciting times, and thanks for answering that question as well. The next question is, if you could pick any 3 projects on the Ethereum or Matic mainnets to launch on SX Network, what would they be?
This is a good question. I mean, it's kind of a trap question. It's tough to say, really. I think rather than kind of targeting specific projects, I'll just target verticals. So I think the biggest thing, sort of the most open area in the very short term, is an automated market maker. So an SX network. I think we may have lost our host. Oh, he's back. Okay, SX network AMM. So we've been talking to a bunch of projects about this that are very interested in deploying sort of a native SX network AMM. We've also been talking to, the second thing I would say is stablecoin issuers. So over collateralized stablecoin issuers. This sort of fits in with this idea. Like imagine something where you could actually use your staked SX or unstaked SX as collateral to get a loan in the native stablecoin, which you can then use to trade with on SportX or farm with or do things like that, all on the SX network. I think that's really, really cool. And then finally, obviously, just lending platforms. There's a lot of obviously room to run for just traditional, I guess, Aave style or compound style lending platforms. Again, I think anything that sort of allows SX to be used kind of more as a currency and just helps with liquidity and helps with a lot of activity. And then, yeah, I mean, there's tons of non-ETH or Polygon projects focused in the prediction market space that we're very excited about, but those are sort of more original. So I wouldn't include those in kind of this question.
Great answer. And I'll move on to the next question. What is the process for adding new sports leagues and markets to SX protocol?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's actually pretty common. So it's right now it's essentially a pretty manual process of kind of going through mapping out the individual sport, the individual league, and then mapping it to the front end. This is something I really, really want to decentralize over time. But we've sort of been watching what happened with Augur and a lot of these projects that try to have decentralized market creation and reporting, and trying to learn from them a little bit in terms of the kind of the problems with it and how it affects the user experience. So that's something that we're definitely continually looking at into. I guess it's part of the progressive decentralization roadmap, is to really make it a more decentralized process. But for the moment, it's just kind of the team manually mapping these leagues and sports, and then adding them to the SX protocol and SportX.
Great insight right there. And what is your 1 year outlook and your 3 year outlook?
I'm sorry, I'm just getting another call. My 1 year outlook and my 3 year outlook. Okay, yeah. So I would say our goal is to launch. To take a step back. I'll give the first 3 month outlook. Our 3 month outlook is to get SX Network out live on production, live on prod, which would be a pretty big achievement, just given that there's only really like 15, 20 kind of legitimate smart contract blockchains out there. So I think being kind of one of the first 25 by itself is kind of an accomplishment. But the 3 month outlook is to kind of get 5 to 10 founding application partners targeting different verticals. And I think our 1 year outlook is to get to over 50, which I actually think is quite achievable, just given kind of the demand we've had from different projects. And I think 3 year outlook is to be, I mean, I would hope this would be a 1 year outlook, to be honest with you, but I guess our 3 year outlook or long-term outlook is to be kind of one of the most actively used blockchains in the world, and particularly sort of establish a dominant position within the sports betting and prediction market space. I would say those are kind of the twin goals of SX Network and SX Protocol and SportX over the next 3 years.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Exciting, particularly the 3 year outlook. Once you start talking any outlook beyond a year. It's very exciting because of just look at the sample size of the trajectory of the project, relative just in the last year or the last 6 months. Very very exciting times ahead for SX Network. And once again, I want to appreciate everyone that's watching. I want to thank everyone that's watching right now on this stream, the SX Network community call. If you jumped in late, this is a series of content that we will be presenting more often to give everyone access to the co-founders and the development team of SX Network, so we can dispense vital information for this project going forward, because we are all stakeholders and we are all invested in the future of SX Network. Very exciting times. I have another question here on the list for you. How are fees structured, and what specific functions are in place to prevent network delays in the future?
Yeah, so I think this question is more asking about SX Network. So it uses a similar kind of auction style system to ETH and Polygon. So in that sense, it's actually like SX Network is a blockchain built using the Polygon SDK. So in that sense, the structure is the exact same. And I guess network delays, it's a tough question. Those sort of, it sort of depends on, I guess, the usage and demand of the chain. So at least at the start, we're not too worried about that. But we sort of have, I guess, the traditional auction style system to prevent like delays. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is when you use SX Network, you will be paying a gas cost, and that gas cost will be denominated in SX, which is kind of an interesting like new utility of SX as well. And that's sort of how we prevent, that's how we have cyber resistance and all that type of stuff.
Okay, I've moved on to the next questions. Would you like to proceed?
Yeah, sorry, just
No,
answering
it's
your
okay.
question.
I did. I moved to the next one. Great answer, and thanks for that as well. Next question: is there a possibility or a time frame for player props or other markets, such as first quarter, first half? I think you touched on that during your initial opening.
Yeah, totally. So that we're working on exactly like I said. The second half of the question we're actually working on right now. Player props a little bit more difficult, just because in kind of the exchange format of SportX, the more esoteric markets like player props and stuff like that, it can be tough to get market makers and liquidity. So that will definitely be something that will take more time to kind of get set up. We don't really like creating markets without knowing that there'll be some liquidity for it on day one. And so that's kind of like one of the main bottlenecks there. So yeah, I would say kind of the second half of that question. So the first quarter, first half, those game props are more likely in the short term.
Wonderful. Personally, I'm excited for that as well. Player props, more markets. Who doesn't want more markets? More sports. More sports, everyone. Next question: are you hoping to set up an AMM or on SX Network, or have a team from Polygon or Ethereum fork one over?
Yeah, I mean, again, that sort of touches on a question we asked earlier, but yeah, for sure, we're definitely looking. Well, I think one of the biggest like obvious use case on SX Network on day one is sort of a native SX Network AMM. And so yeah, we're talking to a bunch of teams that are interested in deploying on SX Network an AMM. Ideally, this would be sort of like a fair launched AMM. So something where you know what I mean, something where a large percentage of the allocation of the tokens would go to LP providers and sort of use that to bootstrap initial growth.
Great. Are you open to more crypto betting markets? How popular are they relative to other sports?
Yeah, crypto price markets, those are pretty small at this moment. Definitely open to adding more over time, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a main focus in the short term.
Okay, thanks for that. With the launch of SX Network, is the focus going to stay on sports betting or to spread across many different verticals as possible?
Yeah, I think the focus is definitely expansion. We I think the scarce resource of any kind of crypto project is attention. And so overly focusing, I think, on one vertical is great to kind of establish ourselves. But over time, I see other unrelated crypto projects adding kind of sports and prediction markets into their platform itself. So things like FTX, stuff like that, that's kind of like an obvious, I think those types of projects will naturally start to add more prediction market style things. And so I think it's better to sort of expand the vision of which is kind of the beauty of SX Network, and definitely kind of go after these other verticals. And again, these other verticals in a lot of ways are actually much larger than sports betting itself. So it's kind of an expansion of the vision, and I think that's why we're all really excited about it.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, and there's another question on this page. Will we get some sort of data dashboard on DAUs, transaction volume, etc., at some point to get an overall picture of SX network health?
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to work with the DAP Radar team to make sure that SX Network is integrated into their platform. And so that way, the same way you can sort of track SportX volume and DAUs on DAP Radar and these other DAP tracking sites, you'll be able to track sort of SX Network DApps as well.
The big questions. The big questions. How does SX token, the governance token, how does SX token, the governance token for SportX, interact with SX, the token used for gas on the SX network? Will anyone using the SX network have governance rights on SportX? Can you explain that dynamic, or will SportX have its own token on SX network?
No. No. So all the value of this project goes to SX, the token. We were never even considering creating, for example, a new SX network token. That thought never really crossed our mind. The idea is to kind of keep it all in one platform, which we think is really powerful as well, just in terms of kind of centralizing the community's like interests and focus. So that won't be happening in terms of a secondary token. SX, the governance token for SportX, interact with SX. Yeah, so SX, this is just an expansion of SX. SX is now also kind of a currency, a blockchain currency for SX Network, which I think is really exciting, and sort of transitions it more from kind of a protocol token to more of a currency or blockchain token. And the SX Network governance is obviously, at the start, SportX is a big part of SX Network, but I think over time, the idea with SX Network is kind of expand in a number of ways. And part of that as well is having SX Network own stakes in the different applications that run on it. We're actually going to be announcing our first kind of SX DAO investment in the next couple of days, actually, which is going to be pretty exciting. And I'll sort of illustrate more what I'm talking about. But the idea is sort of that SX will, to a certain extent, will own sort of stakes in these different applications that launch on SX Network. It's kind of like, the way I kind of describe it is, imagine if the Ethereum Foundation, instead of being this private off-chain entity that is pretty opaque and no one really has access to it, imagine if that was a DAO, and then imagine if it also sort of invested ETH to own stakes in the different platforms that launched on Ethereum. And you as an ETH holder had governance rights over that foundation. That's sort of what we're trying to structure here with SX Network. And I think that's pretty exciting.
Incredibly exciting. Next question. Will SX Network implement 1559 type features, including burn and UX improvements? Is the SX token expected to be the trading pair for SX tokens in the SX network? In other words, how does SX token accrue value from the growth of the network, assuming that gas costs are negligible?
Yeah, so I think first of all, obviously at the start, gas costs will be negligible, but and like we want to keep gas costs low for application developers, outside application developers. But obviously over time, as platforms grow, the gas costs can grow to a certain extent with it. But I do think at the start, this question is kind of correct in that gas costs won't meaningfully drive value. In terms of being the trading pair, I mean, again, so this would be for sort of a native SX AMM. And I think that is pretty obvious that will happen. We don't actually have any control over that, obviously, but if you look at things like QuickSwap, one of the main trading pairs of QuickSwap is Matic, because QuickSwap is deployed on Polygon, or I guess previously Matic. So I think that sort of happens naturally. In terms of 15, 59 type features, it's not in the roadmap, but again, that everything's up for governance debate. So if that's something people want, then it can be proposed and voted on.
Amazing. Oh, that was a really good question, though. That was a really good question. All these questions have been good, and I just want to take another second to thank everyone that's hanging out with us right now. This is Andrew, co-founder of SX Network, a very exciting project in the cryptocurrency world. SX Chain, the native blockchain, which is built on Polygon SDK, the first project to be built on Polygon SDK, a groundbreaking project, is getting ready to launch presumably next month. So we are discussing the roadmap, receiving questions from the SportX community, and I also once again encourage you to interact and read our content on our blog, blog.sportx.bet. I put it in the live chat, the link in the live chat, as well as information on the SX token from CoinGecko. If anyone wants to see any more metrics of the SX token, with a list of exchanges at the bottom. And I also encourage you to join our Discord, and so you can have access to the developers and the co-founding team, just dispensing that information for anyone that may have joined late. And yes, so the next question, with SX token rebounding in the last bit, similar to Ethereum, will there always be an inherent correlation between the SX token price and Ethereum?
I mean, again, that's a question I can't really answer that well, actually. It's because it's just market action on SX. I don't really know. I mean, I think everything in crypto is sort of correlated with each other to a large extent. There's definitely sort of like an underlying market beta component to any crypto. And obviously with SX, we were initially on Ethereum, and then we went to Polygon. So we're sort of grouped within that ecosystem. And then obviously the SX trades against ETH as a trading pair. So yeah, I mean, I can't really comment too much on it because it's sort of outside of my wheelhouse, but I would guess that sort of as a crypto project that's very much associated with Polygon and Ethereum, then there'll sort of always be a correlation between them. Which I think is a great thing, by the way, because I think Ethereum, Ether, and Polygon are the most exciting projects in crypto, besides SX Network, of course.
I have no choice but to agree on that. Ether and Polygon are the most exciting projects in crypto right now, with use cases, and the majority of the projects on these networks have utility and use cases. Moving on, how many projects are you hoping to add to the SX network over the next 6 to 12 months? Are you hoping to set up an AMM on SX network, or have a team from Polygon? Is that the same question twice?
Yeah, it's fine. I can answer it again. I've sort of
Yeah.
answered these as well. I guess this is the last question, so I'm not.
Or do you plan to have a team from Polygon Ethereum fork one over, just to finish the question?
So, I mean, again, on the AMM, we're open to whoever wants to kind of step up and launch that first AMM on SX Network. I think there will be a couple projects that do that. I think it's a very attractive. I mean, anytime you can kind of be a first AMM on a new chain, there's a ton of benefits in terms of sort of being the first one. I mean, if you just look at the explosive growth of QuickSwap as the first AMM on Polygon, it sort of illustrates that pretty well. In terms of the amount of projects, like I said, at least over the next 3 months, we're hoping to have just a very small launch, 5 to 10 projects beyond obviously SportX, which I think we'll pretty easily hit. And then from there, by the end of the year, we're looking to have 50 projects. And again, the reason why it's sort of important is there's a lot of network effects to any blockchain ecosystem. So as you get more and more apps on top of the platform, it becomes, the user experience actually just becomes better for the each extra user. So as we get more, it's really important to kind of get more and more apps, and with those apps, obviously comes more users. And so, yeah, our goal is to hit over 50 by the end of the year, which I think is possible.
Wow. Wow. 50 projects possibly in the pipeline to develop on SX Network. We've heard that from Andrew, co-founder of SX Network, and yeah, thank you for taking the time to answer those questions. Special thanks to Dansky, Sam Betts, Mike James, Slambo, and everyone that sent in questions. These are very detailed questions, and we can tell that you have been keeping up with the SX Network developments because look at the detailed nature of these questions. We have a very engaged community who's invested in the future of this community project, and we very much so appreciate the community, very much so. Any more thoughts, Andrew?
No, yeah, I think first of all, thanks everyone for dropping on this call. We're still sort of figuring out this new format, but I think it seemed to go pretty well, and excited to do this more often. And yeah, thanks for all the questions. The questions were actually incredible. A lot of them too. I'm tired after answering all those questions, but no, it was really great to have all these questions. And yeah, thanks everyone for this, and we'll do it again. And we'll get some one last thing. Actually, we'll get some more merch down the works. Hoping to get that kind of to the community in the next couple of weeks.
We do have a bonus question in the chat. Lucas is with us, Lucas Wisher. He's asking, when does the SX Network expect the chain to go live?
Yeah, for sure. So we're looking to get it live in the fall. It sort of depends on a number of factors. Our original target date is sort of end of September. But again, it depends on a lot of things with kind of the Polygon SDK team, because we are actually, at least according to what I know, we're the first project to launch using the Polygon SDK. So we're definitely helping them sort of build the SDK in real time as we build this chain. And so there'll likely be potential delays just because it's sort of a learning experience on their end, as well as a learning experience on our end. But I feel very confident that we'll get it done sort of in our target dates and sort of hit the timelines that we've given everyone. And yeah, and then like I said, it's just explosive growth from there.
100%. Thank you. These are busy times that do not include very much sleep. Andrew has taken time out of his day to interact with the community, accept these questions, and it's right back to overdrive to make sure that everything goes smoothly with the launch of the SX chain. Very exciting times. If you're not following us on Twitter, we have two accounts, one with the main SX Network project page, and then we have another Twitter account, SportX Project, for sportx.bet, the number one app DApp on SX Chain from day one. One of 50 projects in the pipeline, possibly. And Andrew has taken his time out of his day once again. We appreciate you and the development team. Shout out to Julian. Shout out to Jake, the co-founder of SX Network. The development team, spearheaded by Julian, doing an amazing job. If you guys have a chance to interact with us in the Discord, feel free to drop by, drop any questions. The team is accessible. Transparency is a very important aspect of SX Network. Being able to access and accessibility and transparency are very, very important to us, and we thank you very much. Any departing words, Andrew, and we will depart.
Nope, I'm good. I think, thanks for everyone for joining the call. I'll just say that again. And yeah, looking forward to doing this, sort of refining this monthly call more and more as time goes on.
Amazing. And thanks Marco, Akbar, and Lucas for dropping by in the chat as well. We will see you guys next time. This was the SX Network community call for the month of August. And stay tuned on Twitter and in our Discord for future content and developments here on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as we have many project developments. We will be posting content on this channel related to projects that develop on SX Network. So it'll be one-stop shop for everything SX Network related in terms of audio, visual, and we have you guys taken care of. Enjoy your day, and we are gone. Peace.